Hi guys, so today I'll be talking about a photographer by the name Chanell Stone, and she's based in Southern California, who works primarily in lens-based media and self-portraiture. In her work, she uses herself as the subject and acts as a conduit to bring these individual and collective narratives alive. Through her black and white photographs, Stone explores the connection between the black body and nature. Most of her work involves self-portraiture within urban landscapes. Her inspiration for this first sparked from her attraction to all the plants and trees she'd see in New York City. Then she began to notice all of the green life in places like Oakland, Los Angeles, and Brooklyn. With her interest in the history of urban nature and black bodies, she connected the idea that these cities with so much green life were all also major cities with a large black population. However, within these cities, there was a lot of gentrification happening as well, and therefore black erasure. And so we see her ideas come to life in her series titled Natura Negra, which translates to Black Nature, and it touches on the concept of black bodies proudly taking up space and depicts an effort to reclaim and reconnect with Earth. She was often told that black bodies didn't belong in nature and that they belong in cities. But Stone believed that wasn't true, and in her own words, she wanted to, quote, demystify the stereotype of black bodies not belonging in the natural world outside of the lens of slavery, end quote. Stone looks back to her first memory of nature, which was helping her grandmother water and care for plants. Taking a closer look at one of her works titled Potted Earth, we see Stone posing semi-nude in her grandma's garden in Los Angeles. Stone found so much beauty in her grandmother's garden because she didn't have this lush field or huge flower beds, but she did have this small space and still found a way to beautify it and connect with nature by having this collection of potted plants. The way that Stone is represented in this photograph, being semi-nude and looking directly at the viewer, it affirms her idea of proudly taking up space in the environment around her and tells the viewers that she exists, she is present, and her nudity just emphasizes her importance of representing black bodies in nature. The way Stone creates her work is through the personal interactions with nature and just being on foot, walking around to different landscapes and sceneries of nature, and really being close to the natural world. In her piece titled In Search of a Certain Eden, it depicts Stone standing in a bed of blooming flowers in front of a school in Brooklyn, New York. When she saw these plants, it really stood out to her, and she just had this desire to stand in the middle of them. She didn't know it at the time, but the flowers were called the plantation lily. And it was a full circle moment for her and really emphasized the connection between black bodies and the American landscape. But more specifically, she wanted to touch on the legacy of the Great Migration, where we saw 6 million African Americans move out of the rural South to the urban Northeast, Midwest, and West between the years 1916 and 1970. And during this time, when Black Americans fled the rural South in an attempt to escape racism and limited economic opportunities and arrived in urban areas like Chicago and Los Angeles, they left behind their connection to the land. And so Stone's series are used for the rekindling and reawakening of the bond between black bodies and nature. She also sparks a conversation about how America was built on the back of black slaves and black Americans, and so her work aims to sublimate the history of American slavery into a reimagined relationship between African Americans and the earth. Stone was also very interested in shadows, and we see that in her 2022 series titled Umbra. She described it as being attracted to the quiet, soft, and painterly quality it had. She saw shadows as having the ability to either conceal or reveal depending on what surface they're cast on. And Stone compared that to Black history, which is American history, but often hidden in the shadows. and she wanted to bring shadowed history to the surface, but on the other hand, also it embraced concealment and just keep things to herself. And she also looked at it as having protection within the shadows. Through her work, Stone strived to capture a depiction of Blackness made in a Black gaze, and to see, in her own words, quote, outside of the lens of any stereotype that typically portrays Black people in an alternative light, end quote. We really see her tackle with self-identity and give a voice for Black people and Black women, but at the same time appreciate the abundance and beauty of the nature around us that we often forget or brush past and take for granted.